Hi all, welcome to another Kingscrusher radio show. The time is 9:10, so we're going to have a look at another two key games from the 1930s, the best of the best, from Chessgames.com, what they consider the best of the 1930s. So this first game is very, very interesting. Someone called Korczmar is playing white. The information about Korczmar from Chessgames.com, he was born in 1914 in Odessa in the Ukraine. He passed away in 1978 in Saratov, USSR. This is known actually as the Ukrainian Immortal, this particular game. His opponent, Polyak, was the champion of Tula in 1942. He was born in Proskurov. Okay, and has played quite a few games actually. Has 50 in the database of Chessgames.com. So let's have a look at this game. So it started off with e4. Let's actually connect to Lightbook. Add a good bit, sir. As well, just in case. Okay, so we have e5, knight f3, knight c6. It starts off kind of Roy Lopez. Now d6 looks a little bit passive. It's the Steinitz defense. Not so popular nowadays. It is a little bit, it can give rise to passive positions. We see d4. Now bishop d7, knight c3, knight f6, white castles. And black tries to simplify, wants to take off quite a few minor pieces with this next move. Knight takes d4. So we have a pair of bishops coming off, a pair of knights coming off, and the queen ending up in a central square. White does have a small edge here. Black plays bishop e7. We have rook d1, and you can see that in this position there's pressure on that d file clearly, and e5 is a source of danger for black. And black actually perhaps should have tried to address e5 immediately. Maybe this looks a bit quirky, this move bishop d8, but it's interesting. But black actually just castled here, and it does run into e5, which displaces the knight onto the first rank, which is quite an unpleasant thing to happen. Black's just losing a piece if he takes, with no compensation. So the knight, where else is it going? That's the only square really. The knight hasn't really got g4, I believe. Here, h3. And if knight takes, there's queen takes with that pin. And if knight h6, this looks terrible. Bishop takes, and knight d5. This looks massive for white. So there isn't too much choice about it. The knight's going back to that back row. Now we have a supporting move, bishop f4. Black plays a5, and now rook lift. This is already very dangerous. Things are conspiring, it seems, to black's king. Rook a6. At least black is being creative about his rooks. Rook e1. We have the move queen f5 now. But knight d5 threatens a nasty fork as well as winning the bishop. The bishop moves back to d8, which protects c7 as well. And two pieces are protecting c7. E takes. Knight takes. And now pressure is intensifying with rook g3. You can see this pinned pawn. Well, not just pinned, it's also attacked twice now with the threat of queen takes g7 mate. So that has to be parried. Black plays f6. Things are getting really quite interesting now though. White plays a very strong looking move. Bishop h6, very direct. Okay, so the options for black here, he doesn't really want to potentially lose an exchange. You can't move that without losing an exchange. That's not good. So he just protects that. But there's an ingenious mating pattern that we can navigate towards here, and this is where our knowledge of fundamental mating patterns can actually, if you sort of work backwards from the pattern that you visualize, you can actually come up with something quite absolutely stunning. This next move is quite the stunner, and it's actually a very, very careful move to achieve a mating pattern. I don't know if you can try and find out what it is. Actually, can I just try and reduce the shimmer while you're finding out what it is? I've got a shimmering effect here. I wonder if I can try and reduce it a little bit. Not really. Oh well. That's a shame. It's not getting any bigger there. Okay. We'll have to put that with that. I think it's the lighting in this particular. It's the lighting at the moment. Okay, something addressing all the time. But anyway, white's play here. What would you consider? Well, you have to first work out what you think is a nearby mating pattern, and you might be able to find this really weird looking move which helps you get to that destination mating pattern. So any ideas? White's play here. It's a really crazy looking move indeed. Any guesses? Any guesses at all? 20 seconds. Well, I'll show you. It's crazy. Black's got a weak back row. That's a major clue. You can't get to the back row because of this defensive knight, and it's difficult to attack this knight without closing the file here. And you want to sort of get rid of this knight with tempo. There's a very, very interesting move here, which is the most clinical move in the position. So there's a few clues for you to work on. So we're trying to. There's a destination pattern. You can imagine if a rook wasn't there. This would be mating if the knight wasn't there, because let's work backwards. Because on a check, rook f8, rook takes his mate. So we have that pattern in mind, but we need to somehow get rid of the knight. So how do we get rid of the knight? We want to get rid of the knight in such a way which is quite forceful and with tempo. So this is quite beautiful now. We have the move knight b4. It hits the rook with tempo. And the idea is to eliminate the knight. So after a takes, well, what else here? If rook b6, we still eliminate the knight anyway. So we might as well look at this. We eliminate the knight, so now there's a big threat of rook e8 check mating. Black tries to parry that with queen d7. So black is defending e8. But here comes another beautiful bit to work on. Yeah, just to show you, rook takes, we run into that mating pattern with check and mate. So black's trying to defend himself with queen d7. But now another very, very interesting move here, which satisfies the criteria of pin and win, which is probably a vastly underestimated chess quotation. One of the most important chess quotations, I think, to have in mind when trying to think tactically as well, is pin and win. Because when you pin, there's a major paralysis of sometimes, the opponent's pieces, which give rise to huge tactical opportunity. So there's a pin and win move in this position. That's a clue, by the way. Pin and win move. What would you play in this position, which is a pin and win move? Okay. All right. In this position, any ideas? A pin and win move. So there's another great thing to help calculations. So there's already two aspects of this game: working backwards from mating patterns, but also this idea, pin and win. Okay, I'm going to show you this move. Queen d5. So it's pinning that rook. So we're threatening now. Rook takes g7. The rook's been immobilized. And if queen takes, again, this is like mating. This check is mating here. Sorry, not with rook takes f8. With rook takes g7, and then rook takes f8, and rook g takes mate. If I had said earlier about it being mate, it wasn't as simple as sorry. When we took out the defensive knight here, it's correctly pointed out. Where is the mate? Sorry, the mate is a little bit deeper than I mentioned. It's not to do with that. It's to do with rook takes g7. Sorry, rook takes f8. That's why this check is mating. We take here. Yep. And there's only one move there. And then rook takes f8. So that was the original basis of this. Knight b4. Yes, I've confused everyone. So yeah, that was the original basis of this knight b4. It's a little bit more sophisticated than the mating pattern. For some reason, I've confused that in my mind. This because that's another mating pattern to be aware of when there's no pawn on when the pawn's moved there. Sorry, for some reason I've confused mating patterns here. But yeah, no, it's a little bit more sophisticated. The check, rook f8, rook takes g7. So yeah, black took that. We have queen takes d6 with that threat. Sorry. So queen d7. So queen d5. So we've still got that mechanism. If queen takes, we have the check, rook f8, rook g7, rook f8, mating. So there's a big threat of rook takes g7 here. Black tries king. It's all mating in this position, actually. It's all mating. Black tries king f8. There's actually a forced mate here in 6. And this is wonderful. This next move is also a kind of well, it's just a very, very tactical idea. I mean, severely tactical idea here. So white to play here. I wonder if you can get it. There's actually a forced mate in 6. Okay, this is quite sophisticated mate in 6 actually. I'm going to just show you here. The move played is rook takes g7. So we have, if rook takes g7, we just take the queen to that pin, yeah. So this is virtually, there's not too many options in this position, because actually this is threatening a double check. So black took the queen, but now can you see the final mate in 3? So it's a mate in 3 now. Can you see the mate in 3? The first move of the mate in 3 is played. And black actually resigned, apparently. Okay, I'm going to show it now. Rook g8, double check. So only the king could move. And then we would have rook e8 check. Only the rook can move that, and then rook takes f8 is checkmate. Oh, is that the real Ben Feingold there? Oh, is that Ben Feingold as in the GM Ben Feingold? Sorry, I've made a bit of a mess of this presentation, but anyway, it's a nice game. Let's just rewind and with greater clarity. Okay, I keep using your quotation recently, like an addiction, and the knife on F5. It's an addiction. I keep quoting you, and someone keeps saying that you got it from someone else. But I'm sorry. I just like some of your I just like some of your commentary. It's quite amusing. I find I don't know. I like your sense of humour anyway, Ben. So anyway, yeah. If we go back, so for some reason I've confused. A more bog standard mating pattern is with rook e8 check when the bishop's cutting across the diagonal. For some reason I completely confused that. I'm sorry about that. So this is actually more sophisticated than that. So the idea of taking out this knight is a little bit more sophisticated. So just to recap, it was to play the check for rook f8, for rook g7, for rook f8. So to recap on this tactic, the check. This was the first beautiful idea. Rook g7 and rook f8. So then we have this so crazy stuff happening here. So we get this massive. This is the most technical, most accurate move. I mean, it seems in the position. Queen d5. It's a stunning centralizing move. Pins the rook. So black in the gameplay, it's actually a forced mate in 6. Whatever black does, it's a forced mate in 6. So black tried in the game king f8. What else is there? If we try, let's say g5 or g6. This is an interesting exercise. g5 or g6. This is an interesting exercise. White has in this still a forced mate in 6 in this position. Funny enough. There's an amazing resource here. I wonder if you can find it. White's play here. So this is a variation of the game. So we're going to pivot around this game for a little bit of entertainment. A variation which didn't occur, but nevertheless, this is quite instructive tactically. So another idea for tactics, pin and win, but also doubling things is good tactically. That's a clue. When you create batteries, that's good tactically. I know these kind of ingredients of tactics. So there's actually a really crushing move in this position, which gets somewhere by force, access to a key square, making use of the pinned rook here, the king's lack of squares. The king's escape squares are mostly cut off. There's an absolutely murderous move in this position. So can you see it? This is a variation of the game. Anyone? Okay, it's just doubling the rooks here, believe it or not. By force it gains access to e8. Yeah, I mean, what does black do? If he does this, we just smash through. In any case, how does black stop this rook e8? So here, you know, queen takes, we just crash through. Yeah, this is actually, so g5 or g6 in this position both get answered by, you know, just doubling rooks in the center. Isn't that incredible? These centralizing moves have great impact on the opponent's king. And if we go back to this first centralizing move which pinned that rook, it's just endless mate in 6 here, whatever black does. Let's have a look at another one. Rook e6. We just take that. There's no big deal about that one. King h8. I think that's even quicker. Now we just take on d7. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. b6. Just to show this one. Rook takes g7. And then queen takes d7. Yep. It's all just murderous after queen d5. Yeah. So a cute little game. So this made its way into like the best of the best for the 1930s. Even though Korchmar might not be the most well-known player, this game became known as Ukraine Immortal. So played in Ukraine, 1931. Okay, let's have a look at another game. The second game let's show you is Lilienthal against Capablanca. So Andrei Lilienthal. This was played in Hastings, 1934. Going into the new year of 1935, because Hastings is at the end of the year. So let's have a look. d4 from Lilienthal, and Capablanca plays knight f6. We get a Nimzo Indian with the forceful move a3. So black gives up the bishop. b6. We have f3, d5. Bishop g5, h6, bishop drops back, bishop a6. White plays now e4. Capablanca takes on c4. That's taken. White gets the pawn back with a small edge here actually. So this is quite a reasonable position to get from the opening. It looks quite nice for white here. We have the move queen c6. White is not interested in the exchange of queens. Knight bd7, knight e2. Rook d8. White castles. a5. Queen drops back. And with that queen dropping back, the c4 square is available. Black uses that fact. But now f4, and white's kind of gaining some space here. Actually, let me just look at bits of back here. So f4, quite aggressive. Black plays rook c8. Now another aggressive move, f5. Capablanca believed maybe he had things under control here when he played e5. And it looks as though tactically, yeah, there's a bit of pressure on white's centre pawn here. If white ever dared move, say, the pawn, doesn't he just drop the pawn, right? So there seems to be, in a way, a little pin here, tactically. But white did play d takes e5. And yeah, if Capablanca plays knight takes e5, leaving this pawn alone, this is okay for white. Knight f4, king's still in the centre, and there's a strong threat of bishop takes f6 here. This is okay for white, but black's not doing too badly, I think, with best play. Should be okay for black as well. But Capablanca actually played queen takes e4. So his king's still in the centre, and he was probably expecting, queen takes, where white is still fine here. White is still in quite a good way. But was that played? White's play here. Guess what Lilienthal played in this position. I'll give you 20 seconds. Pronunciation at chessgames.com.
Lilienthal Andor.
Yeah. Okay. What did he play in this position? So white's play. Any ideas? Alright, I'm going to show you. It's quite amazing. White sacrificed his queen. E takes f6, queen sack, just for a knight. So the queen is taken, and it's a pawn, but it's attacking a rook, and it's also threatening mate, because the king's escape squares for the moment are cut. So if queen takes, this is just, well, not mating, sorry, it's not mating, but it's not ideal either. This is just winning for white. So that can't be allowed. So the rook moves. But now we have this tempo gainer, knight d4, hitting the queen. This is still very, very dangerous. Now if the queen took here, the queen went to e4, but if the queen took there, check. And what happens here, yeah, it looks too much. If knight e5, we can take, we've got loaded material here, and the king's pretty unsafe. In fact, we just get the queen. Yeah, it's horrible. So queen e4 is played, which is probably the best try for black. But yeah, this pins the queen. White takes that, and it's just crushing, really. Rook e1. Rook takes e4 check. And here, with the move actually played, Capablanca also resigned. If we look at this position in detail for a moment, if rook e7 check, this is very, very good. If king d8, knight c6 is checkmate. So not too many choices. King d6, f6, and then here we can play the check. And actually just taking on c7 means that this knight is firmly established in the centre without interruption from any pawn. White's just clearly winning this, actually. This position. White's just winning this. Well, he's a pawn up. I know it's just seems to be just knight and bishop for rook, but if we have a look at this position, it's pretty horrible for the rooks. For example, knight f5, and there's all sorts of nasties like knight g7 to be able to take here, or taking here, and black's going to be losing further material. Let's have an example. b5 to save that pawn. Check is good. This position, actually the king's getting chased. So yeah, it's just horrible. There's no real play for the rooks. They're not coordinated. They're pretty passive. I'll give you an example variation. Yeah, where the king's just getting chased. That sort of thing is just deteriorating anyway. So let's going a bit far. But anyway, in this, Capablanca was convinced his position was lost here. So with this move, he resigned. So yeah, a great game from Lilienthal there in Hastings tournament of 1935. So nice to think about these queen sacks. Very good calculation. In fact, in both games, they showed very, very good calculation tonight. And okay, I hope you got something from the two games, and have a good week. It's a very, very exciting week in the world of chess. I don't know if any of you have been watching Singfield Cup. That's been, and then now this thing with Garry Kasparov. So that's keeping me glued as well, actually. So anyway, I'll keep it short tonight, and hope you enjoy the rest of the week. Fantastic week for chess this week. Check out the stuff on the Kingscrusher channel if you get a chance. Okay, comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks so much.